Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1998 Represent. On this episode, we're taking a look at Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie by Alanis Morissette. Oh, right, cool, I was able to say that. It's like the third or fourth take of trying to say the name of that title. For some reason, infatuation is just, whenever I get to that word in this title, it just kept throwing me off. Anyway, we're looking at this album. This is technically her fourth album, but I basically just consider it to be like her second album. The first two albums were only available in Canada, and then by the time Jagged Little Pill came out, it was like a complete departure from the kind of like style of those original two albums. They're like more like pop albums. And then she kind of when she did Jagged Little Pill in 1995 kind of went more into the alternative rock style, and then this is in that same vein as well. So let me grab my notes for this album. Just flip open right here. All right, so this album released November 3rd, 1998. Again, like I said, it was her fourth album, even though I consider it to be her second. I actually have the CD for it right here. I remember picking this up. I want to say I picked this up alongside Hello Nasty by the Beastie Boys, as well as WCW versus NWO Revenge. Took a trip down to a mall, and back in I didn't have a huge mall in my hometown, so coming into like the big city to go to a mall we didn't do it super often, but it was always cool to come down and pick up some CDs, some video games, whatever it might be. And that was kind of close to when this album came out. So I remember picking up this album, Beastie Boys, and that video game, and waited a long time to get this album. Not for a release, but the fact that the first album came out, or Jagged Little Pill came out in 1995, and this is a 3-year wait to get this album. And back when you're 15 to 1995 and 18 in 1998, 3 years is still feels like a long time. Doesn't feel like a long time now, but I think when you're a kid, time moves differently. So there was definitely a lot of waiting a long time to pick this up. I don't have the disc here though. The disc is actually in my CD player at my work, or it's like my CD wallet. This is one of the CDs I listen to quite often. I don't like it as much as Jagged Little Pill, but I still think it's really good. Some more basic notes about this album is when it came out, it broke the record for first week sales by a female artist, selling 469,000 copies. I think the record that it broke was actually The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill from just earlier in that year. And it was not surprising because when Jagged Little Pill came out, that album kind of just blew up and was kind of everywhere, sold insanely well, and this album was very highly anticipated when it was coming out. The album is essentially based on, I guess, or a lot of the inspiration for the album, for the lyrics, is based on a trip she took to India in 1996 and 1997. So I don't know if the 1996 part corresponded with her tour, because I know she toured, from 95 all the way through 1996. There's a documentary on, I think it's still on HBO, called Jagged, all about that Jagged Little Pill album and the subsequent tour. Highly recommend it if you have HBO Max. It's worth checking out if it's still on there. I watched it as it premiered, or when it came out. Thought it was very good, and then that tour ended. Taylor Hawkins was part of that tour as well. After that tour ended, I think he eventually went on to join the Foo Fighters. Remember in that they did kind of an epilogue thing at the end of that documentary where it was kind of the end of the tour and everybody was kind of going their separate ways, at least temporarily. And then he went off to the Foo Fighters, and it looks like she went on this trip to India, picked up a lot of inspiration for the songs on this album. The opening track on this album is called Front Row, and apparently it was inspired by a phone call that she had with Kevin Smith, the film director of Clerks, Chasing Amy, and all those films. And then eventually, she would go on to be in Dogma, which is a film that he wrote and directed. The album was pretty well received by critics. I think there were some fans that didn't like it as much as Jagged Little Pill. I guess I'm one of them as well. But a lot of them were kind of. I think a lot of people liked it. But I remember like reading like web message boards back when it came out where the album wasn't as raw or rough as Jagged Little Pill, and I think some fans were kind of upset with that. And I think I remember reading a book on Apple. It was like it was like an audio book that she narrated, where I think she maybe I could be misremembering this, but she addressed some of those issues, saying like like people change. Like she's like when I wrote that Jagged Little Pill album, I was like much angrier, and I got that anger out in a or expressed it in a creative way on that album, and then kind of moved on, and then kind of evolved as a singer and songwriter with this album and then the subsequent albums. Glenn Ballard also returned to produce this album. He produced Jagged Little Pill to great effect. He's also in that documentary as well. But I believe just going through his producing credits, this album was the last one that he had produced with her. I'm not sure if there was like what the reasoning for him not returning for the third album, because I think the next album after this, like just like straight up in like release order, is a MTV Unplugged album. I actually have that around here somewhere as well. Yes, the last album produced by him. Let's go take a look at the track list for this album. So this album we have, I believe it's 17 tracks. The first track is Front Row. Actually, I can actually just, instead of just reading off of this, I can actually read it off the CD. So track 1 here, yeah, 17 on this one as well, so this is the CD. Track 1 is Front Row. Really like Front Row. It's a great kind of introduction to the album, and it definitely has a much different tone than the opening track off Jagged Little Pill, which is All I Want. Or, yeah. Track 2 is Baba. Track 3 is Thank You, one of her kind of more iconic songs. Track 4 is Are You Still Mad? Track 5 is Sympathetic Character. Track 6 is That I Would Be Good, another great one there. Track 7 is The Couch. Track 8 is Can't Not. Track 8 is You Are, or it's just like spelled the letter U and then R. There's a little bit of that kind of spelling on like Thank You, and on track 3 is a U and not Y-O-U. Track 10 is I Was Hoping. Track 11 is One. Track 12 is Would Not Come. Track 13 is Unsent. Track 14 is So Pure. That's another kind of classic there. Track 15 is Joining You. Track 16 is Heart of the House. And track 17 is Your Congratulations. And yeah, like definitely, like I said, not, in my opinion, not as good as Jagged Little Pill, but Jagged Little Pill, just off the bat, is a incredibly hard act to follow, even for Alanis Morissette. So this is still a really good album. I think if I had to rank I think this and her and Jagged Little Pill are my top 2. And then some of the other ones are pretty good too. The newest one, the So-Called Chaos, well, the newest being 3 years at this point, but came out 3 years ago, also an amazing album. And then got the little booklet here with the lyrics and there's some cool photography in here as well. Like we got that. I think there's some other, and I like the material. This is it's like a paper. I think the other ones are more like almost like magazine stock. But yeah, that's the booklet for it. It's had this, for close to 25 years now. It'll be 25 years in the fall that this has been out. I would highly recommend checking this out if you you can pick up the CD or just stream it on like Spotify or Amazon or Apple Music. Apple Music is where I generally listen to everything. But yeah, this is just a pretty good album. Like I said, not as strong as Jagged Little Pill, but definitely not far from that as well. Again, it's her 4th album. I still consider it to be her second. And then, like I said, this album does have some very iconic tracks on it. Like Thank You is kind of like when that came out, that kind of became really popular. And then another one I really like So Pure is also really good. and just kind of shows the evolution of her as a like a songwriter, going from the content of Jagged Little Pill to this. Just showing that, like, I think like there were some fans that were a little bit upset that she wasn't, I guess, wasn't as angry, I guess you could say, in this album. But that just kind of just goes to showing that, like, like you get the anger out on the album and you kind of move on from it. But yeah, this has been, again, gonna see if I can pronounce this correctly. All right, I always get thrown up by the title. So, supposed former infatuation junkie. All right, sweet. Like whenever I like I said earlier in the video, infatuation, just like I said, I had to do multiple takes of the intro just to get that right. But that's gonna do it for this video. Highly recommend that you check this album out. Another great album from 1998. We have more content coming up in the coming weeks. I think we'll be doing another either movie or TV show for our next episode. Don't know what that'll be just yet. And then we'll move on to a video game. And then we'll just kind of repeat the process of going from, like album, movie slash TV show, video game, and repeating that. I don't know how long this series will go, but once we kind of run out of ideas, we're just going to jump back into the 90s and kind of just do videos for that entire decade. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. I have some ideas lined up for that. But there's definitely a lot more stuff coming for this 1998 Represent series. So again, that's going to do it for now. Thanks again for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Again, thanks for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.